Hello everybody, San here, engineer, MBA, and investor. And in today's video, I want to take a look at NTLA 2002 data that they were able to gather over the past months. And of course, this is nothing new. This is not like this was published recently. This has been around for a while. In fact, in 2022, some of this data came out, and that's why a lot of people sentiment towards NTLA started growing extremely strong and positive and confident about the company and the CRISPR landscape. Not only for their success for NTLA 2001, which we've known since 2021 June. If you guys remember, that was the first set of data we got for NTLA 2001, which was revolutionary at the time because it was in vivo and for other reasons as well. But specifically with NTLA 2002, the success for this program solidified this company having 2 successful CRISPR programs so far in the clinical trials, and no other CRISPR company has been able to do that. Not CRISPR Therapeutics. They only have 1 successful program. The other programs are, well, let's say average at best. So nonetheless here, I want to take a look here. CRISPR Tommy here tweeted this out, and of course this diagram is from their corporate presentation. And before I even jump into this diagram, I do want to remind viewers, the people don't realize that FDA IND submission approval for NTLA 2002 was really big for the CRISPR landscape. NTLA, all of their studies so far for in vivo, whether that's NTLA 2001 or NTLA 2002, have been conducted and experimented outside the US. The FDA never really permitted any of those clinical trials to happen in the US up until this week when they got FDA approval. Now, I do want to remind viewers that this is extremely important because people did not know this. People were under the presumption that just an IND submission approval, it's not a big deal. Even in one of my comments in YouTube, my video 2 days ago when I released that news, someone just said, it's just an approval for IND. It's not just an approval for IND submission. There's more to it, right? Just for all the reasons I explained. So anyways, we look at this data, guys. Don't forget there were 2 cohorts here, 3 patients with 25 milligrams of dosage, and then they tripled that dosage to 75, and the data was obviously extremely positive with the 75 milligram as well. You look at the first cohort of patients, patient 1 to 3 here, administration of 2002. Look at these orange line having moderate attack severity of that disease. Look at the moment they got NTLA 2002. Obviously, a lot of things were happening in the first few days. If you look at the days here, that's literally the first 2 weeks. So the first 2 weeks, obviously, you're going to get lots of orange because you're basically putting that patient under lots of pressure, lots of stress. There's obviously chemicals being injected in. There's all sort of stuff that I don't want to start jumping this video into, but it's expected that the first few days, few weeks be a little hard on the patient. But the key here is that over time, you can see here, even for this worst patient number 2 in the first cohort, over time they had no more attack severity. Look at this. This is lots of days. Like, these are lots of weeks, guys. This is almost like, this is 224 days. What is this? That's a lot of days, right? Months since the last attack, 5.5 months. I mean, anybody would trade for that, right? Anybody would trade for this single dosage treatment with 5.5 months, no attack. The first patient's 10.6. The first patient had it easy, and they had a mild attack severity. So this looks like it was one of those patients less affected by this disease, if that makes sense to say. But obviously, after there were dosages, no attack. Same thing for the third cohort. You look at third patient of the first cohort, usually see pretty good looking. Second cohort, you had a lot more severity for the first patient. You look at these red lines, extremely severe before the dosage. So this patient was obviously in dire need of this type of treatment. And you look at this, it's been 2.3 months since the last attack, which is obviously extremely positive. You look at this figure there, sort of, and you follow that trend for patient 2 and patient 3. Obviously, patient 3 having less data so far, and then you look at their trend. They're suspecting that by week 16, that's when no patient will have any attacks from the moment they dose. So that's about, what is that, 4 months? So that's pretty pretty good. I mean, this is something that lots of people would die for, right? You look at their title of that slide. All patients had an ongoing attack-free interval with a range of 2.3 to 10.6 months. I mean, these are great data. This is great data. And then it goes back to what we were talking about at the beginning of this video. You know, the FDA is looking at this and like, you know what, we want some of that in our clinical trials in our soil. You know, this is a US-based company. It makes no sense that they're delivering such great work outside the US, whether that's UK, New Zealand, doesn't matter where it is. It's not in the US. You have dire needs of patients with HAE disease in the US. Why not leverage your own US company in your own soil, right? It makes total sense, right? So that's why the FDA approved NTLA 2002. I definitely want to see the FDA allow NTLA 2001 further and get data for NTLA 2001 as well in the US. I mean, this is big, right? The FDA, guys, I mentioned this many times. I mean, obviously, if you're an investor, you're looking at this data and you're in awe of it. But ultimately, you know, you want the FDA to have a piece of this, right? Because if the FDA approves this, obviously the biggest market is in the US, specifically in the healthcare industry. Everybody knows this. So there's obviously a lot of money in commercial side of things there. But whether you cure patients in Africa, in UK, New Zealand, in the US, and Canada, it doesn't really matter. It's patients cured, right? But obviously from a business standpoint, you got to be mindful that this does matter, right? So again, I just wanted to make this video here going over this slide. One, two, reminding people that, you know, the FDA never approved any clinical trials in the CRISPR landscape for in vivo from NTLA up until last week. So this is definitely a big news, guys. So as always, guys, subscribe if you're not, like this video if you found value, and let me know in the comments below, guys, what do you guys think about NTLA success so far, and now finally entering in the US. I'll see you guys in the next video. Thank you.